Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad-Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 19, The Killing of the Demon Hiryanaksa. So yesterday we have seen the battle between Lord Varāha and Hiryanaksa, and now we begin with the 19th chapter. This chapter is divided into 4 sections. First section is text 1 to 26. Further description of the fight between Hiryanaksa and Lord Varāha. Then 27 to 32, Brahma and the others, they praise the prowess of Hiryanaksa. So what happens is that while fighting, Hiryanaksa exhibits his power and hits Lord's Gada in such a way that the Lord Gada slips from his hand. And this activity is praised by the demigods. 33 to 36, glories of Lord's activities. And then 37 to 38, amazing falashruti of hearing this wonderful pastime. Very, very beautiful verses. 2 verses only, but these are very beautiful verses of hearing this pastime. So we come to text 1. So 1 to 26, this is the first section of the 4 sections. Further description of the fight between Hiryanaksa and Lord Varāha. So we come to text 1. Maitreya uvacha avadharya virinchasya nirvilikamritam vachah prahasya prema garbhena tadapangena sograhit.
Here Maitreya said, after hearing the words of Brahma, the creator, which were free from all sinful purposes, and as sweet as nectar, the Lord heartily laughed and accepted his prayer with a glance laden with love. Purport. The word nirvyalika is very significant. The prayers of the demigods or devotees of the Lord are free from all sinful purposes, but the prayers of demons are always filled with sinful purposes. The demon Hiranyaksha became powerful by deriving a boon from Brahma, and after attaining that boon, he created a disturbance because of his sinful intentions. The prayers of Brahma and other demigods are not to be compared to the prayers of the demons. Their purpose is to please the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Lord smiled and accepted the prayer to kill the demon. Demons who are never interested in praising the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they have no information of Him go to the demigods, and in Bhagavad Gita, this is condemned. Persons who go to the demigods and pray for advancement in sinful activities are considered to be bereft of all intelligence. Demons have lost all intelligence because they do not know what is actually their self-interest. Even if they have information of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they decline to approach Him. It is not possible for them to get their desired boons from the Supreme Lord because their purposes are always sinful. It is said that the dacoits in Bengal used to worship the goddess Kali for fulfillment of their sinful desires to plunder others' property. But they never went to a Vishnu temple because they might have been unsuccessful in praying to Vishnu. Therefore, the prayers of the demigods or the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are always untinged by sinful purposes. Hare Krishna.
Very beautiful words. Avadharya virinchasya. So virinchi is Lord Brahma. Nirvilika amritam vachaha. Nirvilika means free from all sinful purposes. So such prayers are meant for only and only benefit of the entire world. So when you hear vachaha, these beautiful words, amritam, nectarian, beautiful words, when Lord heard, what did he do? Prahasya prema garbhena tadapangena sograhit. The Lord heartily laughed, prahasya prema garbhena, accepted these prayers with a glance ladened with love. So the Lord's, this is amidst, the big fight which is going on, and this is in between the fight. In between the fight, why it is? Because in between the fight, generally person is in the mode of goodness, mode of rajogun and tamogun. But the Lord is Shuddha Sattva, and he prahasya prema garbhena, very heartily laughed, and he accepted the prayers with a smile and the glance ladened with love. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Nirvilika is very important. That the prayers of the demigods, they are generally free from the sinful purposes. But the prayers of the demons, they will be filled with a sinful purpose. Like Ravana asking for power, Hiryanakashipu wanting to become immortal, and so many Bhasmasur, Vrakasur, we have seen so many people. Their prayer, the intention behind the prayer is very, very sinful. Now, in this case, the Lord is smiling and he is accepting the prayers of Brahmaji, because Brahmaji's prayers, they are nirvilika, without any ulterior motive. The only motive behind these prayers is performing good to the world and performing even good to the Hiryanaksa. And therefore, these prayers are accepted by the Supreme Lord. Srila Prabhupada says, generally, the demigods, they go to Lord Vishnu, but the demons, they go to demigods to get their prayers fulfilled. Of course, not all that is the case, but most of the time this happens. And therefore, such kind of a demigod worship is condemned in Bhagavad Gita. Avidhi Purvakam. This is called as Avidhi Purvakam. It is like demigod themselves are very pure and they are great devotees of the Lord. But you go to somebody and try to bribe the government officer, and this is considered as on that category, right? If the purpose is sinful. And why this happens? Because param bhava majananto, that the demons, they have no understanding of the Supreme Lord, and even when they have understanding of the Supreme Lord, their purposes are very, very impure. And they know if they go to Lord Vishnu and satisfy, try to derive such intention, such desire from the Lord, then they may be very unsuccessful. First thing is they may become purified, that they are afraid of. They don't want to become purified. They want to continue with their demoniac life. And they are sure that Lord Vishnu will never grant such benedictions. Right. And therefore, Prabhupada says there were so many dacoits, who is to worship goddess Kali, but they never entered Vishnu temple for their worship because they knew that they will never be successful because their purposes were always very sinful. Now, why demigods accept, although they themselves are great devotees? Because the entire system is designed in such a way that at least, if not surrendering to the Supreme Lord, at least the demon's process of surrendering to someone has begun. Someone, at least to the demigods. And therefore, demigods accept this, and the phala ultimately, is awarded because demigods also are under the jurisdiction of the Supreme Lord to award the phala. Another example here is, the child asking something to mother and a shopkeeper. Child may ask, the cigarette to the mother, and mother will give a tight slap to the child. But the child goes to the shopkeeper and pays the money. Shopkeeper will simply, because it's very, very transactional, right? And this is how. So the beauty is the demigods approach Lord Vishnu, but people with this otherwise mentality, they approach the demigods. Text 2. ततः सपत्नं मुखतः चरन्तम् अकुतो भयम् अघानोत्पत्य गदया धनवासुरमक्षजः. Translation.
Translation: The Lord who had appeared from the nostril of Brahma sprang and aimed his mace at the chin of his enemy, the Hiryanaksa demon, who was stalking fearlessly before him. Hare Krishna.
So the Lord who has appeared from the nostril of Brahma sprang and smiled and aimed his mace at the chin of his enemy, Hiryanaksa, who was like Akuto Bhayam. He was very powerfully walking the Hiryanaksa here and there without any tinge of Bhaya. The Lord's name here is Akshaja. Akshaja means the Lord appearing from the nostril of Brahmaji. So one thing is, nostril of Brahma is not like our nostril, okay, which is like filled with all mucus and cough and everything else. So it is not, sometimes people may have this idea, how did the Lord appear from nostril? So as one moves up in the ladder on the heavenly planets and beyond that, the body becomes more and more subtle in nature. Body is not gross. And that's why you can see the demigods, they can fly in air, because the law of earth will not act on them, the gravity, because the body is not earthly body, right? The elements of earth, water, fire, air, ether, their combination is different at the different levels of the lokas. So in the Swarga Loka, the body is not grossly earthly body, just like we have the human beings on the earth planet. So there is a difference between our nostril and Brahma's nostril. That is one thing. And the second thing is that, the living entity, somebody may laugh, oh, your God is appearing from nostril. Then one should simply ask is from where you appear, right? So many times people have this, especially about Varaha avatar, that they feel, oh, why this form and why this appearance, this way, that way. This is because of Param Bhavam Ajananto. They do not know the higher nature, the reality. And that's why people may make some loose comments. So here the Lord, who is Akshaja, is ready to fight. Text 3. Sahata tena gadaya vihita bhagavatkarat vigurnirta patadreje tad adbhutam iva bhavatah. Translation.
Struck by the demon's mace, however, the Lord's mace slipped from his hand and looked splendid as it fell down whirling. This was miraculous, for the mace was blazing wonderful.
So while Lord was accepting these prayers and he was interacting with Lord Brahma and his prayers, what happened? The demon struck the Lord's mace, and the Lord's mace slipped from his hand. And Bhagwan ko nishastra kar diya, right? And looked splendid as it fell down whirling. So the Lord's Gada, Kaumudi, just fell down from the hands of the Lord. And this was miraculous. Why? Because this has never happened in the history of the fight, that somebody is, nikal diya Lord ke haath se, doing nishastra to the Lord. And for the mace was blazing wonderfully. So the Gada is a Adbhuta Gada, and that fell from that slipped from the Lord's hand. This was on one level a beautiful pastime of the Lord, and another level giving a false confidence to the demon that now he can be victorious very soon. Text 4. Sagada satada labdhatirthopi nababadhe nirayudham manayan samrudhe dharma vishvaksenam prakopayan. Translate.
Even though the demon had an excellent opportunity to strike his unarmed foe without obstruction, He respected the law of single combat, thereby kindling the fury of the Supreme Lord.
Now, the Lord is without Gada, and the demon had the excellent opportunity to strike the unarmed foe without obstruction. He respected the law of the single combat. Who? The demon, Hiryanaksa. And demon, he was saying that, take your Gada and fight. And that gave great anger to Lord Vishvaksena. Vishvaksena Prakopayan, make him extremely angry. Right. So this is the real fight which is going on. And this is the amazing rasa that is being exchanged here. So Hiranyaksha was thinking, no, I will not fight with you. You pick up your Gada and then I will again, throw off your Gada from your hand, destroy your Gada and then destroy you. And by following this rule shows, the made Lord extremely angry, because that showed although he was following the rule of the combat, but that shows the extreme arrogance of Hiranyaksha. Right. Like, I'm a teacher. So sometimes, we have this one boy who wrote, we give 7 questions and, we tell the question is that solve any 5 of the 7. So that boy solved all 7 and said that check any 5 of the 7. So on one hand, it shows scholarship. On another hand, it also shows arrogance, right? So this is how, and that made Lord Prakopayan. And what happened outside? So while Lord was angry, everybody was watching this. Text 5. Gadayam apavidhayam hahakare vinirgate manayamasa taddharmam sunamam chasmaram dvibuhu. Translation?
As the Lord's mace fell to the ground and a cry of alarm arose from the witnessing crowd of gods and rishis, the personality of Godhead acknowledged the demon's love of righteousness and therefore invoked his Sudarshana discs.
Yeah. Hahakar. Gadayam. So when the Gada fell from the Lord's hands, there was a hahakar everywhere. Ha, hi, cry of alarm. Vinirgate. And while others, they started praising the demon's love of righteousness. What is the righteousness? See, this is typically called as honesty among thieves. So, honesty among thieves means the thieves, they looted a bank, and after looting the bank, all the booty they had, they said that now we should honestly divide amongst 4 of us. So, conquering the world itself was an act of, irreligious act. But now here, Hiranyaksha is showing, the so-called righteousness. But this was also appreciated in the fight. Text 6. And now the Lord invoked his Chakrayamasa, Sudarshan Chakra, the disc. Text 6. Tam Vyagra Chakram Ditiputradhamena Svaparshadamukkhena Visham Yamanam Chitravacho Tat Vidadam Kecharanam Tatrasmasan Swastitemam Jahiti. Translation?
As the discus began to revolve in the Lord's hands, and the Lord contended close quarters with the chief of his Vaikuṇṭha attendants who had born as Hiryanaksa, a wild son of Diti. There issued from every direction strange expressions uttered by those who were witnessing from airplanes. They had no knowledge of the Lord's reality, and they cried, "May victory attend you. Pray, pray dispatch him. Pray no more with him. Play no more with him."
Savyagra Chakram. So while the disc was revolving, Ditiputrena Dhamena. So the disc began to revolve in the Lord's hands, and the Lord contended as the close quarters with the chief of his Vaikuṇṭha attendants. Swaparshada Mukkhena. Although the Lord is fighting, and this is a very heavy fight taking place, but still Lord was aware of, he is one of the Parshada, Swaparshada Mukkhena. While others who had no idea of what's happening, they were just moving around in the aeroplane. They had no knowledge of Lord's reality, that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appeared as Varāha. They cried out, "May you become victorious, may you become victorious. We are praying to you, please dispatch him to death. Kill him at once. Don't play with him, kill him." Because they knew now the Lord has, the Gada is also slipped from the Lord's hand. And they knew that if the fight continues and if somehow the demon becomes victorious, and now we are clapping for, here Varahadev's victory. In case the demon becomes victorious, the demon will, he will just take us to the corner now. They were aware of their treatment after the victory of Hiryanaksa, if at all it happens. And therefore they began to pray to the Lord that please, although they were unaware of the complete reality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who had appeared there. Text 7. Satam nishamyat ratamanga agrato vyavasthitam padmapalashalochanam vilokya chamarasha pariblupta pendriyo rusha swadantan chada ashrushan. Translation.
When the demon saw the personality of Godhead, who had eyes just like lotus petals, standing in position before him, armed with his Sudarshan discus, his senses were overpowered by indignation. He began to hiss like a serpent and he bit his lip in great resentment.
While Lord gave the beautiful darshan of his own Varāha Roop to the demon Hiryanaksa, because he was intensified with anger, what happened is he just began to hiss like a serpent, biting his lip with great resentment and trying to kill the Supreme Lord. Text 8. Karaladam strāskshabhyam sachakshak sanchakshano dahanniva abhiluptya swagadaya hato sityahanantharim. Translation.
The demon who
The
had
demon.
fearful tusk stared at the personality of Godhead as though to burn him. Springing into the air, he aimed his mace at the Lord, exclaiming at the same time, "You are slain."
Yeah. The demon who had the fearful tusks stared at the Supreme Lord, and he was whirling his mace around Gada, and he just threw at the Lord, saying that now you are dead. Text 9. Pada samvyenatam sadho bhagavan yajñasukarah leelaya mishatah shatro praharadvat tarasamhasam. Translation.
O saintly Vidura, while his enemy looked on, the Lord in his boar form, the enjoyer of all sacrificial offerings, playfully knocked down the mace with his left foot, even as it came upon him with the force of a tempest.
So while this Gada was whirled around to the Supreme Lord, O Sadhu, Vidura, Sadhu, Padasa Vienata, the Lord very playfully knocked down the Gada with his left foot, right? Even as it came upon him with a great force. So here is the left foot is being used. Why? Because just to show something, it's by, this the by dai depends on which are righty or lefty. Hath ka khel. So like that, like Supreme Lord Krishna, he's lifting Govardhan hill with the left hand. And that also, the smallest finger of the left hand. And here, similarly, Bhagavan Yajñasukaraha, he just, kicked that Gada with his left foot. Text 10. Ah chayudamadhyasva ghatasvatvam vijigashi ityukta sagada bhuyan Tadayan Vyanadadbrusham. Translation.
The Lord then said, "Take up your weapon and try again, eager as you are to conquer me." Challenged in these words, the demon aimed his mace at the Lord and once more loudly roared.
So now the Lord said, take up your weapon. Why? Because the demon had given one chance to the Lord, but Lord did not pick up the weapon. But he did not fight. So Lord also said, I will also not fight with you. You pick up your weapon and counter me. And by these challenging words, the demon aimed again. He picked up his gada and he began to once more loudly roar. So this is how the fighting is going on. Text 11. Tams apatatim viksha Bhagavan samavastitah Jagraha leelaya praptam Gurutmana pannagim. Translation.
When the Lord saw the mace flying toward him, he stood firmly where he was and caught it with the same ease as Garuda, the king of birds, would seize a serpent.
So the demon picked up the gada once again and again threw on the Lord. And this time the Lord, he caught the gada just like Garuda would seize a serpent. Very, very effortlessly. Text 12. Swapaurushe pratihate hatamano mahasuraha naischad naichandvadam diyamanam harinam vigata prabha. Translation.
His valor thus frustrated, the great demon felt humiliated and was put out of countenance. He was reluctant to take back the mace when it was offered by the personality of Godhead.
So when the again gada was thrown at the Lord said, the Lord picked up the gada. Lord caught the gada with very, very easily. And this frustrated the demon. He felt humiliated because this Mahagada coming, and the Lord is once he's like playing like a football, left foot he's just throwing it off. Another time he's just catching the gada, and again he's giving. And just he felt very reluctant to pick up this gada again. Hataprabha, Vigata Prabha, he was reduced in the splendor. So Vigata Prabha means, he was hatotsahit hona. He had become now, he was thinking gada is my weapon and this is counteracted by in so easily by the Lord, by the enemy. Text 13. Jagraha trishikam shulam jvalajvalana lolupam yadnyaya dhrutarupaya vipraya bicharanyatha. Translation.
He now
took a trident, which was as rapacious as a flaming fire, and hurled it against the Lord, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, even as one would use penance for a malevolent purpose against a holy Brahmana.
Yeah. So here, now he realized that gada is not working. Then what did Hiranyaksha do? He picked up a trident, Trishula. Jagraha Trishulam Shulam Jvalana Lolupam. And this trident was flaming with, rapacious fire. Yagyaya Dhrutarupaya. And he whirled it around the Yagya Purusha, Dhrutarupaya, who had appeared there in the form of Varaha. Yagyaya Dhrutarupaya. Just like one may use penance for a malevolent purpose against the holy Brahmana. So here Ambarish Maharaj is glorified. Just like Durvas Muni was a very, very tapasvi personality, but used his penance for a petty reason, simply out of envy towards Maharaj Ambarish. And this is the analogy being considered here. This is how this demon attacked with now Trishula, trident in his hand. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Tomorrow is a very auspicious day. Tomorrow is Ram Navami. So we will be having a very special mantra chanting tomorrow here. We will be having Nama Ramayanam tomorrow that we will be singing. And then there are wonderful programs across the temples. I'm supposed to give a Bhagavatam class, so we will be having the mantra recitation tomorrow on the occasion of Ramnavami. So we'll conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhupada,
Krishna.
thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
everyone. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, don't pray.